once we get this completely set up, then I'll give you an introduction, Clark, and we'll be off and running. All right?
Okay, I had 34 years in the National Space Program. I was one of the earliest pioneers. I was there 2 years before the original 7 astronauts were selected, and NASA wasn't even formed yet when I was there.
Okay.
That's a very, very early pioneer.
Absolutely. Now, I'm going to just give you a brief introduction here, and then you can certainly add to it however you'd like, all right?
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so my guest tonight is Clark McClelland. He's an aerospace engineer and technical assistant to the Apollo and was a program manager during the Apollo moon landings. He held important positions involving manned projects such as Mercury, Gemini, and Apollo lunar landings, Skylab, the space shuttle, and space station. He was assigned to the cockpit of the space shuttle missions as a spacecraft operator, ground test astronaut. And so if there's anyone who knows what's going on in space, with humans or otherwise, it's Clark McClelland. That is a quote from his bio. And he was also formerly with ONI, the Office of Naval Intelligence. So that's just the briefest of introductions, Clark, and you're welcome to say more about yourself and your background at this point.
All right, thank you, then, Kerry. I became involved with the National Space Program in 1958. It was 2 years before NASA was formed, and 2 years before the first 7 astronauts that were friends of mine were chosen. I knew all those men very well. John Glenn is still alive, living with his wonderful wife, and they're both in their 90s in Ohio. So
Incredible.
I got those people. And I've been involved in or witnessed 678 missions in my lifetime. That's a heck of a lot of tax money, and it's a lot of rockets. So I've been there a long time, and my specialty there was search for extraterrestrial life. I spoke to the astronauts that were on the moon that said they saw it. I spoke to other NASA astronauts about seeing them in space, around Earth orbit and beyond. So ET life does exist. This planet is full of extraterrestrial life. So don't be in fear of it, but please study my website. Please try to read some of my book chapters there. They're not very expensive. And if you'd wish a real special gift for Christmas, I can still get it out for you. I have moon gold brought back from Apollo 15 and my friend James Irwin, who was the astronaut on Apollo 15. When he was leaving to come back, he cut some gold panels off of the gold that's on the moon yet with the Apollo 15 lunar module. He brought it back to me, and what I have in here is about a quarter-inch square of it I can sell. I'm sorry I have to sell it. I really am sorry, but I'm in some problems with finances here. So if any of you would like a moon gold photo, read my website and see what there is there. It's a 6x4 frame, golden frame, with a picture of Irwin saluting the flag, and the gold that you'll have a piece of right on the front of your photo of him. On the back of that, you're going to see the description of where it went and all that, and a photo of me sitting in the space shuttle Columbia. It's a wonderful gift, and it's an honest gift, and I swear that to my heart and mind.
Okay.
It's not very expensive.
All right, and we've got a link on my site to your site, Clark, for everyone to see, as well as
Okay.
here. You are the URL here. I'm going to make that visible for people so that they can
Thank
see
you
it
very
here
much, yes.
on the screen, so they'll easily be able to find your website.
That's wonderful.
And at this moment, what we want to do is also talk about your book that you're writing. You're on chapter 23, 24, I understand?
I'm on I've completed chapter 23, and I'm writing chapter 24, which is a very, very important chapter. I don't have it on my website yet, but it involves the fact that we had 6 landings on the moon, and the 6 landings on the moon were especially in areas that we learned were very special. They're helium-3 areas on the moon, very loaded with helium-3. So if you want to read my chapter 24 later to read what helium-3 is, it's very important. We have got to get back to the moon, and we have got to mine helium-3 there. But our space programs were hurt badly. It has been hurt very badly with our shuttles being shut down when they should not have been. We had 3 shuttles that could still fly, 2 especially, which were the youngest 2 of the shuttle fleet. And they were taken out of order by the President Obama. I think that was a horrible mistake for him to make. I don't care if you're a Democrat or Republican. This nation's what is most important to us. So the politics, the hell with it. Anyway,
Okay.
we have helium-3 on the moon, and we have got to get there and mine it because China and Russia are wanting to go there and do the same thing.
Okay, and this is used for space flight. Is that correct?
Well, helium-3 can be used for many things. It can be used for not only space flight, but many other things. It can fuel the world. It can fuel the planet Earth with just a few tons of it. So if you get tons after tons of it from the moon and bring it back here, we can actually keep the energy of this planet very stable without having to use oil and everything else.
Okay. That's great. And I'm not sure whether you're sort of acknowledging that you understand that we have a moon base.
A what?
A base on the moon.
Oh, we've had a base on the moon for a lot of years.
Okay.
We also have a secret New World Order astronaut corps that's on Mars, MARS, for those who are listening. We have Astronauts International on Mars, and we have a base on the moon, maybe 2 bases on the moon.
Okay. And did you ever get an invitation to possibly go to Mars or the moon?
Did I ever have that?
Yeah. Did
no,
you ever?
I wish I would have had, because I studied Mars in astronomy before I went to NASA. And but see, my problem is this. I was an expert in the study of UFOs and extraterrestrial life. They were in fear of that getting out everywhere, person on the planet Earth. And I'm still under a lot of problems because of that. They do not want you, the human race, to know that there are 5 to 6 separate races on this planet. They have all come from star systems beyond the Earth. We have various races on this planet because there are various races from various star systems, Orientals and whites and whatever else. That's why we have a variation of races.
Okay, great. All right. Well, that's lovely. Can you tell us any more about that? I know that we're going to be talking about your chapter 23 and you met with Werner von Braun. So do you want to get into that now?
Yes, that would be wonderful. Werner von Braun and I were very, very good friends. And NASA removed him when they should not have, and they sent him into Washington, where he was in a dead-ass office there. I'm sorry, I said dead-ass. He was in a dead place. And then eventually he died very early in life. He died on December 31st, 1976. With that, we lost a great scientific man of Earth.
Okay.
So Dr. von Braun was working, yes, of course, with Hitler in the German army, but he told me one time, Clark, they threatened to kill my entire family unless I did what they wanted. So he did what they needed to have done, invent and create V2 rockets and whatever else. And he had a wife and he had wonderful children. He was a wonderful man. He had a good heart. Okay? He was German, but he had a very good heart.
Okay. Now I have some individuals who say that he was a Nazi until the end. You don't agree with that?
He had to be a Nazi when he was told to become one. He had no choice. but he didn't really involve himself with the Nazi Party as deeply as others have. He was also making statements where he was threatened by Hitler's agents to be brought in and found guilty of treason because he was talking about creating rockets to the moon and such after the war ended. When he said that, they thought, he already knows that the USA is going to defeat Germany. So they threatened his life and his whole family because of that. These are things people are not allowed to know.
Okay. Can you tell us about your meetings with him?
Oh, I had meetings with him quite often when he'd come to the Space Center. He would either call me on my not home, but on my office phone at the headquarters building of Kennedy Space Center, or he would send someone over to get me to go over to see him where he was at in the other office building next door to ours.
Okay.
And I would go over and see him or meet with him on the lawn or take a walk with him around the buildings and whatever else. So, no, I knew him very well. Very well.
All right. In your report, you talk about the beings from Aldebaran, and apparently you had a conversation with him about that. Oh,
yes. He wasn't surprised. He said, "My God, Clark, you are into astronomy quite deeply." And I said, "Yes, sir." He said, "Clark, Aldebaran is where the Aryan race came from that created the German race on Earth." He said, "There's a planet circling Aldebaran, and it's a large, large planet, very large, and it's where the Aryan race became, I guess they started their existence on the planet around Aldebaran." And he said that they're here, they came here, they actually were here and helping to develop certain weaponry and such for the Germans during World War II. Well, they created the first jet plane. The Germans did. They had technical expertise from the Aryans helping them create the greatest tanks on Earth, jet aircraft, and all types of other and deep-sea submarines, everything they could imagine. But they lost the war, of course. At least that's what people think. I know otherwise. And
right.
That's what, okay.
That's true. My understanding as well is that they did not lose the war. I mean, wouldn't you say that von Braun was actually from Aldebaran or related to them in terms of his bloodline?
Oh, yes, he was. He believed that. And in fact, I have the same bloodline from my own family. I have part German inside me, but it's not really direct German. It's from the country that's above them. I forgot the name of it right now. I'm sorry. I'm not very well. I'm ill, so I'm not remembering a lot of things. I apologize to the audience for that. Now, if the audience would please go and look at my website and look at my chapters to see if you'd like to read them, and or if you would like to buy a moon gold for Christmas for someone special, graduation, a wedding, whatever else. I'd appreciate that very much.
Okay. Well, that's fine. And I've got your URL here showing on the screen for people. Just moving the page here so that they can see the URL. It's basically StargateChronicles.com with a hyphen in between Stargate and Chronicles.
That's right.
And he does have the chapter we're going to be discussing here, chapter 23. The link is there, and you can purchase it. He actually sells the book by chapter. Is that correct, Clark?
Yeah. Well, I've tried to have it published, but the government here, certain agencies in it, has stopped my publishing this book. I have more than one book. Probably have 2, maybe 3 books now, and I've got maybe 30 more chapters I can complete. So I've got some astounding things to report, and they're all honest. I swear to God on that. They're all honest, the way I've learned them and the way I've written them. So everything you read is exactly the way I was told or was made to believe it exists. It's the honest truth.
Right. Now, in terms of the beings from Aldebaran, do you know why they wanted to give the technology to the Germans?
Well, because of a nation on Earth that the United States supports, that they did not want to see capturing the entire planet and enslaving it. I think you can understand what nation that might be. I'm not going to say which nation.
Okay. Well, then in terms of the times that Aldebaran, the beings from Aldebaran, came to the planet, did he talk about that?
Of course. He was able to meet some of them when he was with the German army, of course, especially when he was at Peenemünde, the rocket base, and then when they moved from there into another area when Peenemünde was being bombed. He said that then at that time the military was beginning to lose, and that they had to then decide whatever they could do. That's when he began talking about making a rocket that could go to the moon. But the Germans knew then what he meant by that. The Germans then realized that he meant that after the war he would join whatever country that was, which would be the United States, of course, and he would come over here and help develop the rocket that would send our men to the moon, which he absolutely did.
Okay. Do you happen to know anything else about the history of that race? They're humanoid, I assume, and anything else about them?
No, they're very humanoid and they're very intelligent, just like the German race is. And the German race is very highly intelligent. I don't think there's a person that would deny that. And they created the first jet aircraft. They created the very powerful tanks that were on the ground. We didn't have a tank that could face them. My father was with a tank in Germany, in the German area when it was being fought. He had his crew removed from the tank one day just to go out and eat in some little forest nearby. The German big, large tanks came by and blew the top off of his tank. It would have killed him and everybody else in it if they had been in it.
Uh-huh. Okay. But you actually, your father then was not working with the Germans, right?
He worked at the Kennedy Space Center with me.
Oh, I see.
Yes, he did.
All right. So ultimately, he ended up working with the Germans then.
Well, he worked. Yes, he did. He worked with the people that were trying to kill him. But believe it or not, he became friends with them too.
I see.
Just like I was friends with them.
Right.
So it's not the first time that enemies have become friends.
No, probably not. Okay. It looks like you're also referring to a number of things in terms of the craft that they came in to the Earth with. Can you describe those craft? Had you ever seen pictures of them?
You mean the Aryans?
Yes.
No, I have never seen anything like that. No, in fact, Dr. Braun hardly ever described what they looked like or what they were. So I haven't got any knowledge of what they were or what they looked like, what kind of propulsion they used or anything else. I'm certain the propulsion was anti-gravity because the Germans were developing an anti-gravity craft at the end of the war. When that craft was discovered, it was taken from its test site. It was in Poland, and it was brought here by General Hans Kammler. He was an SS general for Germany. He was secretly brought here with the craft and taken to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. That's where it was and may still be there. It's an anti-gravity device and machine that can make actually spaceships that can fly with anti-gravity. And we do have that already with the what was called the United States. The United States doesn't exist any longer. It's now the New World Order of North America. USA doesn't exist. I don't care who hears that, want to believe it or not. New World Order of North America. The New World Order has taken over the North America, Central America, and South America. Where the New World Order of North America, there's a Central American, there's a South American New World Order.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. I do agree with you on that. Okay, so it looks like you had other people that were working, I guess, with von Braun. You mentioned here in your article.
Yes.
Do you want to talk about that?
I've known many of the German scientists that came over here with Dr. von Braun during the Project Paperclip days in the mid 1940s. They came over here with him. Hans Kammler, the SS general, stayed in Germany. He was given the orders by Dr. Kurt Diebes, who became the Kennedy Space Center director and a very good friend of mine. So Hans Kammler was working under Diebes in Germany. So Diebes then had him sent here secretly. And how did that happen? General George S. Patton had him sent to the United States, and shortly after that, Patton had a car and truck collision, and he died from that accident when he was hardly harmed by it. He had minor injuries. When he was in the hospital, his own wife thinks he was murdered.
Okay.
They didn't want George S. Patton to run for president, which he was planning to do.
Okay. Why did they murder him?
George S. Patton?
Yes.
Number one, they didn't want him as president.
Okay.
And number two, they didn't want him to disclose the fact that Hans Kammler brought the German anti-gravity machine over here from the German area of Poland. They had it in, testing it there, and they brought it over here secretly by ship, and then they transferred it by truck up to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base with Hans Kammler, the German general.
Okay. So what about the other scientists that he was? You say you were also aware of. I got the names here. Dr. Ernest Stollinger. Stollinger.
Yeah.
And
Ernst Stollinger. Oh yeah. All those scientists I mentioned there were brought over here with Dr. von Braun. They were the scientists that were working with him on this anti-gravity machine and various other things. Very, very well-educated, highly intelligent men. I know because I met them. I know them.
Okay, would you say they might have been from related to the Aryan race?
Of course they were. Germans are Aryans.
I understand, but are you saying they were all Aryans? In other words, they were all related.
They were all related here on Earth, born probably here on Earth, but they were all Aryans from the Aryan race that came from Aldebaran.
Okay.
You see, that's what this country and the nation that's trying to control everything now wants me not to shut up. They want me shut up, so they're trying to do everything to have me die. That's what I'm doing right now. I am dying from what they put in my left leg.
Okay. And we're trying to help you out here, Clark. So I am sorry for all that. And we're going to do the best to get the information out there.
Thank you very much.
And
you have a wonderful site with your site.
Thank you.
You've passed it all over the planet Earth, and I congratulate you highly for what you've done yourself.
Thank you.
You have done a fabulous job.
Thank you, Clark. Well, the same to you, I must say. And you're doing a great job still plugging away, trying to make people aware of all of this information.
Right.
Is there anything else about this story that involves the beings from Aldebaran? Did he ever talk about his interaction with them? Did they perhaps talk about the Nazi bell at all?
The Nazi bell. The bell was actually the anti-gravity machine that they created, and it was created because of the help from the Aryans. They have high technology with the Aryan race on the planet that's circling Aldebaran. Very high knowledge. They have knowledge far beyond what we have been able to reach here. So they created that, and then George Patton worked to get him sent over here, Hans Kammler, Hans Kammler and the machine was brought here, the bell, and then I have another chapter in my book writings of where I was at. I visited Kecksburg, where one of the bells fell. One of the bells fell in Kecksburg.
Okay.
In 1991, I think, or somewhere around that, 92.
I think that we covered that in one of our earlier conversations. I've had Clark on my show before, so for those of you that are listening, you can also get those links, and I'll be making those available. They're already on my website. If you just go to search and put in his name, you'll find them. Okay, so there is information that you've got about the space shuttle and the beings that were also visiting the space shuttle. Would you say what appears to be Anunnaki, which are the very tall beings, you relate, and I think it's in another chapter, chapter 22? Wouldn't you say that's a different...
Maybe the Anunnaki.
Okay, and that would be...
I can't say for sure.
All right. It seems that might be a different race than those from Aldebaran, correct?
Oh, yeah, of course they are.
And have you heard that Gordon Duff? Are you familiar with his name?
Oh yes, of Veterans Today.
Yes.
Okay, yes, I know who it is, but they don't print anything of mine. I'm not one. I have no idea why.
Okay. Well, one of the things Gordon Duff has said is that the beings from Aldebaran are coming over and they are building underground bases and giving them parts of Africa. Have you heard of that?
No, I haven't, but I would be surprised.
Okay. Why wouldn't you be surprised?
I wouldn't be surprised because of the intelligence of those Aldebaran creatures that came here and did what they did with the Germans, and then could be able to fly from the Aldebaran is it's so far off that it's hard for anybody to imagine. Aldebaran is 65 plus light years from Earth. That's very, very far. So an Aldebaran Aryan race flying that far is an amazing thing in itself, and that's a very long distance from Earth. We sent Explorer 10 out to the into space on March 3rd, 1972. It went for 30 years into space with no failures, and we were in touch with it. And then it fell quiet on 23 January 2003. It had gone 8 billion miles into space before it stopped its DSN. DSN is its Deep Space Network Communications.
Okay, and what had it reported back about? Do you know?
No, Explorer 10, very few people know it, but Explorer 10 was created to fly into deep space to Aldebaran by Dr. von Braun, Dr. Kurt Debus at the Space Center, Carl Sagan, Dr. Carl Sagan, and Dr. Frank Drake. Very famous, wonderful people. There's a drawing in it on the spaceship that was sent there that shows a female and a male of planet Earth. They're naked. They're naked and they're shown in their full extent. You know, the male with you know what, and the female with whatever. And that's what they did. And I'm looking at it right now. The male is a little taller than the woman. He's got his right hand up, saying hello or hi. And he's standing in front of a drawing of the spaceship that took them there on Explorer 10. It shows the approximate height of the male and female to the satellite that they flew there in, and this is on a plaque that was placed on board the ship that was created by the wife of Carl Sagan, and Frank Drake and Carl Sagan and his wife designed this plaque and sent it to that planet around Aldebaran, the Aryan planet.
Okay.
And
So are you saying that it arrived, or are you saying they don't know?
no, it's not going to arrive for a long, long time. It's very, it's going to take about 1,000,000 years to get to Aldebaran. The way it's
Okay.
flying now, that is unless it is intercepted by the Aldebarans, not the Aldebarans, but the Aryans, and then captured and brought back to their star, their planet around Aldebaran, and then studied there as far as what they see here on this plaque that Carl Sagan and Dr. Frank Drake placed on it.
Okay. One of the things that you wrote about is your surprise at hearing that that the alien races are related to the humans here on Earth, and that many of those races are here, specifically those from Aldebaran. And can you talk about how you felt when you first heard this information?
Well, I'm an astronomer in the past. I've been in space science all my life. Nothing surprises me. Nothing shocks me. Nothing puts me into a frame of mind where I don't want to believe it, because I'm open to belief for anything. And I've
Okay.
been that way all my life. I've got a 170 IQ.
All right. Now, did you know that according to Gordon Duff, he also said the reason they want to come here is because they've destroyed their own planet. Had you ever
Uh,
heard anything about that from
I
Werner
have
von
not
Braun?
heard. I've heard nothing about the Aryans destroying their own planet around Aldebaran. I don't know why they would want to destroy their planet around Aldebaran. Now Aldebaran may have one more planet circling it, but it's not like our planetary system, the solar system. It's nothing like that at all, as far as I can find. So, if there's more information on that from the space telescopes, and other than that, I have no idea what that may be.
Okay. You did say that in your book, in this chapter, you say that he told you that we are their property and their relatives. Do you want to expand on that at all?
We are their property and their relatives. You mean the Aryans said this?
Yes. Apparently, you've got a quote here from Werner von Braun.
Okay. Well, he stated it. Now, we'd go back when we'd been on Cocoa Beach for the Manned Flight Awareness meetings and awards meetings. I was there helping there, and Dr. von Braun would show up to hand out awards to the various people that had earned them. We would go out back, and he was still smoking at the time. I even brought up to him, "Please, sir, would you quit smoking? I don't want to see you leave the earth earlier than you should." And he'd smile at me. Eventually, I was told he did stop. But we'd go in the back of the hotels at Cocoa Beach, and we'd sit down together, just quietly ourselves, at a bench outside the back. And we would talk about everything like this. He would discuss with me everything you could imagine that the Germans were developing at the time in World War II. He told me things about Germany that has never been in any history book I could believe, that I could read and believe.
Okay.
So he was telling me the truth. I believe he told me the truth. He looked at me straight in my face every time he told me something, and I looked at him in his face every time I replied or told him something.
And so you think that he was honest and credible as well.
He was very honest and credible. I am absolutely certain of that.
Okay.
I have a sixth sense. I can estimate things and hear people talk at times and determine from that whether they're telling me the truth or not. My mother had that same sixth sense. And I
Okay.
have it, and it's told me things at times, a couple of times it saved my life from car accidents and problems that I ran into. So it saved my life several times. I'm 80 years old, close to that now. So I'm getting up there.
Absolutely. Okay. Well, in terms of the Werner von Braun story, is there anything else you can tell us about him that you might like to share?
Well, just that he was an honest man. He told me, as I said earlier, that he had his family threatened with death if he didn't follow the orders of what the German SS was telling him to do. and Hans Kammler was a general in the SS, and George Patton sent him over here with the device, the Bell, the German Bell, that
Okay,
they were
well,
developing.
did Werner von Braun tell you that about the base in Antarctica?
He inferred that, but he didn't go into that with deep detail, so I can't say much more on that. But there is a base that was under the Arctic, Antarctica, that was built for Hitler. It was called it was his castle there, and his wife and he escaped Germany at the end of the war. They were not killed in the bunker like everybody reports, and they escaped with a very advanced submarine that could stay under the water far deeper and a lot longer than any submarine at that time. They arrived down there in South America, and then at that point I was told they went over to Antarctica. They went down under the ice, and the ice on top, which is Antarctica is a continent. It's land and mountains and such like that underneath.
Sure.
They had built him his Shangri-La there, they called it. That's what they called it, Hitler's Shangri-La.
Okay.
And that's where he was for a while. Then after that, I don't know what happened, but I had also heard he left there, and Ava died, and he left there. He went over to South America, the tip of it there, whatever the country is there, I forgot now.
Argentina.
Argentina. He went there. He was there with a lot of his former officers and such that came over with him, and they stayed there and lived there for a long time. And I've seen photos of Hitler as he was growing old.
Okay. See, do you have any friends that are still alive that know some of this stuff as well?
No, there's few that do. There's few that do. And everybody that I've asked to write something about their knowledge of me at the Space Center, due to the fact that they knew what happened to me when my entire retirement was destroyed, they just will not speak up because they've got their own retirement to protect.
Okay.
So I have very, very few people like that.
Well, what happened in terms of your retirement? Why was your retirement taken away?
Because they knew that if they didn't break me financially, I could go ahead and publish what I want to publish now in my book chapters. They realized I was writing these book chapters, and they knew that that could not be released to the human race. They can't afford to have that out with the public and understanding the truth. And that's the truth, what I'm writing. In my chapters, everyone listening, please, if you would, go and read some of my chapters. They're not very expensive. They're very $3.50 a piece or something like that, $2.75, $2.75, $3.50. My chapters are cheap. I can't raise them higher because nobody buys them. And then if they would please, the people listening, if you want a very special gift for Christmas, for a husband, wife, a baby being born, a graduation, an anniversary of a couple elderly people, whatever, look at my moon gold photo. It's a wonderful gift, and it's very rare. There's only 300 out of 1,200,000,000 that has of the human race. We have 1,200,000,000, I believe now. So I only have 300 of these that have gone out to the human race. It's a very rare piece of space history, and it's gaining value every day.
Okay. What about what was let's see, called the name of the South Pole, New Schwabenland, and also
Yes.
New Berlin. Are you
That's
familiar
right.
with those titles?
Pardon me, please?
Are you familiar with those names?
Oh, yes, I'm very familiar with that, yes.
Okay.
So that was the Germans in the Antarctic, and they had a lot more down there than anybody can imagine. They did build a base below the surface of the ice and snow there into the mountains. They did dig it out, build it up. They had a place there where they were creating and actually able to take off with with advanced aerial aircraft, jets, and whatever else. They had anti-gravity machines that they built and were flying out of there. That's what flew over Washington, D.C. in 1952 when Harry Truman was in office. We had a flyover of advanced craft they could not identify. Our jets could not keep up with them. That's because they were the German advanced aerial objects.
Okay, now this information that you know, how do you know this? Did somebody confide this in you?
Well, I talked to a lot of the German scientists and Dr. von Braun about a lot of this stuff, and I have never forgotten it. I have kept it in my memory. So I disclose that for anybody that would like to believe it. If they don't, that's their choice.
Okay, can you talk at all about the Thule Society?
The what?
Thule Society?
Spell that, please.
Thule. Thule.
Oh, okay. Okay. That's a society that was formed with a lot of Germans in the past, and von Braun was not a part of that, though. And Hitler was not either. But they had a lot of people that were involved with it. Heinrich Himmler, the very, very dangerous Heinrich Himmler. He threatened Dr. von Braun and his family with death unless they followed his orders through the SS. Heinrich Himmler.
Okay. And what happened to Himmler at the end of the war? Was he killed? I can't remember.
I think he either committed suicide or I think he committed suicide. I can't remember all this now. I'm 80 years old. I can't remember everything like this.
That's okay. We're just trying to get some of your feedback about your chapters here and just see if whatever you can remember, so we can move on.
Ma'am. Well, I appreciate very much my heart and mind that you have allowed me on again with you, Kerry, because you have a wonderful site with your site, the what's it called again? The
Project CAMELOT. Yes, thank you.
Project CAMELOT. Sorry.
No problem.
Project CAMELOT. And of course I met JFK 6 days before he was shot in Dallas at the Kennedy Space Center. He was there at Cape Canaveral visiting the Titan II site where we were developing the Titan II Gemini craft for two astronauts. And he came up to me and he said, "You're Irish? My name McClelland." I said, "Yes, sir, part Irish." And he said, he reached in his pocket, brought out of it in a clasped fist something. He went to shake my hand. When he did, he put it in my hand. I clasped it in my hand, and I put it in my coveralls. It was a presidential emblem from off of one of his sweaters or jackets. I still have that. I wish somebody would buy it because it would help me greatly.
All right. Well, you can put that out there. How much would you, or do you want to talk about how much you would sell that for? I imagine there are collectors out there.
Directly from JFK, I'd like $10,000 for it because it's directly from him, and it's only I saying this, but I am not lying. I am not lying. I'll take a lie detector test if anybody wants me.
Okay. Now, you have other chapters about various things. You've got, as I said, the one about the very tall beings on the shuttle. And I often come across people that have never heard that story. Do you want to talk about that?
Okay. One of the missions of the shuttle that I was monitoring on ground, of course, had several friends of mine on a mission above Earth. And when I took a coffee, I came back and sat down at my table, and I didn't have my teammate there. He was in studying for a master's degree test the next morning. I locked him into our vault. So I told him, "You stay there and study." As I walked in, I looked at the set. I went to, I think, the fifth or sixth television set that I had, and I could see there was two astronauts out in the payload bay where the open payload bay is, the large doors that open. And as I looked, I could see an 8 to 9 foot tall alien creature there with arm motions giving orders to our two astronauts on the left and right side of him. And our astronauts there were no more than 6 feet or below that, because the shuttles were only made for 6 feet or under. Okay, about 6, 7 weeks later, I didn't have a witness there, but I made a report on it. I was called by a friend of mine 5 or 6 stories below the ground in a secret facility in New Mexico. He was in a shuttle tracking facility there that was underground. He said, "Clark, I'm going to verify what you saw, because I did see also on a separate space shuttle mission a 8 to 9 foot tall alien in the crew compartment of the space shuttle I was viewing. It was talking or discussing things or communicating with 2 normal astronauts that were getting suited up to go out into the payload bay with this 8 to 9 foot tall alien. And behind the craft, when I saw the 8 to 9 foot tall creature, behind the shuttle was a craft that I could not recognize. It was the alien spaceship. Very large, very, very different in design. I saw that. This is why
Incredible.
this government is so in shock about what I know. They don't want this out to the human race.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, can these tall beings, they were humanoid?
They were humanoid, 2 arms, 2 legs, a torso, a head, and of course fingers and whatever they had on their
Were
feet.
you able to
sure.
were you able to distinguish faces at all from where you were seeing them?
Well, I thought I was seeing like 2 eyes and maybe a nose or maybe a mouth in one, but I was seeing it at a distance, and I can't swear to that to any degree, but that's what I thought I saw. But it may be wrong. I may be wrong saying that.
Uh-huh. And they were suited up as well in a space suit. Is that correct?
Oh, yes, in a space suit, a very tight-fitting one, and they had a large helmet on, larger, of course, than our astronauts, and they were giving arm motions. Well, this one was to the 2 astronauts I was seeing that were with him out in the payload bay, giving arm motions, meaning orders to them.
Absolutely. Well, have you ever heard of the tall aliens that have been spotted around by housewives in Israel? There was a reporter who named Barry Shamish who has reported that story. Have you heard of that?
No, I haven't heard that. No.
Okay.
I'm sorry, Kerry. I'm not very well. I'm sick. I have pain, horrible pain, 24/7 for the last year and a half or longer, and 6 doctors that could do nothing but give me new prescriptions of $105 for painkillers. That did not work for me. So the doctors I had were nothing more than drug pushers.
Okay. Well, I've got people listening. Is it all right to give out an email address for you? Would you?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. If you would, please.
Okay.
Give out Clark and then my 9331. Okay.
Okay. Well, I've got one with. I don't know if you want me to say the one I've got here. I don't know if this is a good one. So you want to give your email address out?
Okay. It is Clark, CLARK 0003 @hotmail.com, or 933. What is it? ZZZ933 @hotmail.com. Both of them will reach me, I hope, unless they block it again. And I have had blockage by the national government agencies, the FBI probably, and the CIA and whoever else. Don't be in fear of sending me an email. It won't matter. It won't cause you any problems, whoever heard this. But they're after me to close me down. They want me dead. That's what they want.
Okay. Now, do you? I see that you've got a PO box. Do you mind if I give that out, or would you?
Okay. It's P.O. Box 233, Post Office Box 233, Tavares, 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 Florida 32778.
Okay. So just so people can possibly get in touch with you, maybe they can help you in some form or fashion, send you healing energy or whatever it is. So,
whatever they could, I'd appreciate, because I'm in horrible pain. One doctor slipped. He said, Clark, I spoke to 4 to 5 women getting their answers about what their pain was at childbirth. He said, Clark, I estimated your pain in your leg. Each day you're screaming with pain. It's about 3 times what a woman feels at childbirth. That must be pretty powerful.
Okay. Now, there are a lot of people, they're going to hear this even after the fact. So you can also give out any other way. Is there a PayPal that people can possibly help you with? Or
Yes, there is a PayPal. If they would like to, please reach it. If they could send something to PayPal. My fiance in Ohio, her name is Virginia Rose. She will accept it and put it into my PayPal account, which is very low, has hardly nothing in it. They keep me poor for a reason, Kerry. I'm suffering from being in deep poverty.
Okay, is your PayPal? Do you want to give that address out so that people can take that address?
If they want to send something to my PayPal, if they would contact my fiance at Stargazer, one word, STARGAZER, Stargazer, V like in victory, C like in Clark, and R like in Rose, VCR, Stargazer VCR at live.com. That's Jenny Rose. She's my fiance. She takes care of a lot of my finances and things like that.
Okay. Now, I've got some questions here. We don't want to keep you too much longer because I know that it's kind of hard on you here. But
oh, that's okay. Keep me as long as you want.
Okay. Well, I've got a few questions here that we're going to go through, if you don't mind.
Okay.
So somebody is asking, were the Apollo missions assisted by ET?
Were they assisted by ETs? Well, there are people at the Space Center that I met and knew that I suspected were from extraterrestrial intelligences, but I couldn't prove that. So whether they were or not, I cannot say. But I do know that when we went to the moon on Apollo 11, by the way, I designed the Apollo 11 emblem, the eagle landing on the moon with Mike Collins. Collins was one of the crew members with Buzz Aldrin and Neil Armstrong. My friend Neil died in Cincinnati when I was visiting my fiance. Neil, in my opinion, was killed. He was on the death panel in that hospital. They could not chance that Neil would come out and finally admit that he had seen ETs on the moon. Neil had not done that up to that point. His second heart attack, they made sure, killed him.
Okay. Thank you for that information. Are there any other astronauts that you believe that were killed? What about the Challenger ones? Weren't they also killed?
Well, I knew the Challenger crew. Judy Resnick was a friend of mine, a very good friend of mine. Mm-hmm. I have a photo of her on my website. Judy Resnick. As it was exploding above the ocean, I looked up and I said, God, please take me up there. Let me die there and bring Judy here and let her live. But God didn't answer my prayer.
Okay. Like I said, do you think that was sabotage?
It was sabotage, yes. I'll tell you reason why. We had 18 to 19 Libyans working at the Kennedy Space Center at that time.
Uh-huh.
It wasn't hard for you to, if you're working on a spaceship, especially the Challenger, to get out underneath it and place a shaped charge. There was a shaped charge placed at one of the connections between the outer solid rocket engines and the large liquid fuel solid rocket motor that blew up and killed everybody and threw them into the Atlantic Ocean. That here, I have photographs of that blowing up, and NASA ordered me to send them back, and I said, go to hell to NASA. So they're trying to kill me.
All
Kerry,
right.
I'm not lying.
No, I hear you. I definitely hear you. All right. So is there any other space, craft or accidents? What about Buzz Aldrin and some of the others? Do you feel that they were taken out?
Buzz Aldrin, he's still alive.
He is?
Of course he is.
Okay. I actually did not think he was still alive.
Buzz Aldrin's one of our greatest speakers out there about NASA and the Space Center. Now, we had the Columbia explode. Now, listen to this. There was a space station above the Columbia, maybe 25, maybe 2,500 miles up high in space. What happened there was, as the Columbia did have broken, it had broken tiles on it as it was starting to re-enter the atmosphere of the Pacific just before it reaches California. It began to, there was an object launched from the space station, a stationary space station above it, up in space, not our space station, but maybe Russia or China. I have no idea, I can't identify. And it came down, it zipped in behind the space shuttle Columbia, and it exploded and fell into the Gulf of Mexico, into Texas, and into parts of in the parts of other states in that area. My crew at the Space Center were the crew that was sent out to collect the fallen pieces of that Challenger. And a friend of mine that's worked with me, a Cherokee Indian that was out with me working there, I cared for like a brother. He caught some type of an illness being out there collecting those items because there was an object on board the Columbia that few people know that an Israeli pilot carried on board. He was spying on the Near East with this object as they flew over the Mediterranean and other nations there. This here Israeli pilot died with the rest of the 6 members of that crew. It blew up and fell in pieces into Texas and parts of the other states in that area, and parts of it fell into the Gulf of Mexico. And my crew had to go out and pick that up. They were all told, be very careful because radiation was in that object that the Israeli pilot carried on the Columbia.
Okay? So
radiation.
Again, all right. Well, so in essence, that was a form of sabotage as well.
That's right.
Okay.
It was a sabotage mission, even though the tiles that protect the craft did have problems cracking and falling off to some degree. So that combined with what hit it and caused it to explode, that's what caused it to come down. Now, I can't show you any proof of that. People can believe it or not, but I was there for 34 years before NASA was formed. I'm a pioneer in our space program, a very early pioneer with my father.
Okay.
He was there with me. So I know what I'm talking about, believe it or not.
I believe it, and I'm sure the people listening do. I wanted to ask you, if Buzz Aldrin is still alive, did he see ETs, and does he talk about that?
Buzz did see them, but he doesn't say much about that. But I heard a couple times that he slipped a couple times discussing things with people, and he did admit that he did. Now, I can't prove that. So if Buzz wants to call me and say, Clark, shut up, I didn't say that, you know.
Okay, well...
I admire Buzz Aldrin.
Uh-huh. All right, what about the other astronauts? Were you aware that they had their minds wiped, as many have claimed, when they got back?
The minds were wiped?
Yes. So that the memories of seeing the ETs, they didn't have memories of it.
No, I didn't hear about that at all.
Okay.
And I've spoken to astronauts that were on the moon and that had seen things there, and they had seen a lot more than what I've already mentioned. Okay, they've seen structures in the distance that look like crystal buildings or crystal something or another. They had seen that, and then Hadley Rill, where astronaut Jim Irwin was, he observed he saw UFOs flying overhead as he was on the moon with Apollo 15. He also saw mining on the moon that was not us or Russia. Mining. So something's there that's mining the helium-3. Helium-3 is a very rare item.
Okay.
So unless we get there before Russia and China, they're going to be mining it and bringing it back here, and we will be losing that part of our sciences too.
Okay, well, are you aware of a certain element that is also used, I'm told, in computers and space travel, which is only found in great quantities in Afghanistan, and that's the real reason we're over there? Have you heard that?
No, I haven't heard that at all, but I would not disbelieve that, because there's a lot of items on Earth, and then we're in different countries fighting illegal wars. We're in there fighting illegal wars that were not approved by the U.S. Congress. That's where our country's losing our safety and our safety and our actual freedom. We're losing our freedom in this country. When will people wake up? When will the sheeple of this country wake up?
I hear you. Okay, I want to go back for a minute and just ask you, because I just noticed another detail here that I hadn't had a chance to ask you about, which had to do with the goddess Isis and Egypt.
Yes.
Are you saying there was a link up between the race Aldebaran and a worship of that goddess?
No, I'm not saying that, but Isis was actually a queen in Egypt, a very distant past, and her husband was their main god there at the time, and Isis and Egypt. Let me say something here. I was in touch with Doctor, I forgot his last name now, who they removed from his history area, and
Zahi Hawass. Are you referring to Zahi Hawass?
Who?
Zahi Hawass.
Yes, Hawass, Dr. Hawass. I was in touch with him. He sent me an autographed picture because of my knowledge of ancient Egypt. Egypt was a nation that was not only visited by, but also helped in building pyramids by alien race. What alien race? I don't know. But can I sit up in my chair a second here?
Sure.
Hold on. Yeah, I slide off it sometimes. I don't want to fall on the floor. Anyway, I do believe the Egyptian people were one of the first races on Earth to have experienced the knowledge of building great monuments and structures where they have done so, and I do believe it is too that the first race on Earth were black people that were created through manipulation of their genes, and I do believe that Egypt was a black race at the beginning. That's my opinion. I don't think they want anybody to know that. And there's things yet to find in the pyramids and in the other structures in Egypt. There's a lot more to be found in Egypt that's buried in the sand.
Right, absolutely. I agree with you, and I've heard that also from other people. Now, I see there's I'm trying to see there's a couple questions here. It looks like somebody wants to know if they used Pine Gap during the time when you were serving in NASA. did the Apollo missions or other missions use Pine Gap, the base that we know about in Australia?
There were communications between Pine Gap and shuttle missions, but I have no knowledge of what they discussed. That was in top secret areas that I was not able to enter, and I didn't know people that worked in there. But there were communications between Pine Gap and our shuttle missions. Not all of them, but some of them. And of course, Pine Gap is a very important place on Earth.
Okay, and why do you say that?
Well, it's very important because of its knowledge where it's located in Australia there. Australia has a lot of very wonderful things that exist there in that country, and this is one of them. Pine Gap is one of them. It's very advanced, but I'm not that well educated or knowledgeable about how advanced and what areas it is in. I'm sorry, but I'm not.
Okay. Well, just saying that alone is very helpful for people that are researchers and trying to find out the truth.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
That's all I want. I want the human race to hear the truth, no matter what it is. ET race is here. I want them to know that. They should know that because the human race is becoming enslaved. It's becoming enslaved more and more now in the last few years that I've noticed it. I do not like slavery, and my nation now, in my opinion, is under slavery.
Okay. I appreciate you saying that, and I'm afraid that may be actually the truth. Certainly with the surveillance society that we're under.
Oh, yes. We're in a police state here now.
Okay. I have somebody else asking. You've got a picture here of the Stargate Chronicles, Aldebaran, E.T. Arians, and Werner Braun. There's a certain picture here of, it looks like it's got Aldebaran there. Did you have any significance, someone wants to know, or a reason why you chose that particular sort of picture of the constellation in the background there?
No, just that it would bring possibly the interest of the person seeing it, reading it, and hearing me talk on this show now to go to it and then study more into it and learn more on their own. Because Aldebaran is a massively large star. It is big. It's an orange-colored star. And the planet that circles it is a very large planet. And I've seen the ships from it fueling off our sun in the last few years. They fuel off the electrical system of our sun. Our sun is an electrical star. It's an electrical star, and ships that fly by electromagnetism, and they come there and fuel off them. I've seen some large ships that were Aryan that fueled off them, and these ships were massively large.
Okay.
So they were like cosmic aircraft carriers. They carried small ships inside that would go and study planets that they would pass by, the Earth and who knows what. And that's what they were. That's what they are.
Okay, what about the... sorry, go ahead.
They fuel off our sun because our sun is electrical. The universe is electrical. We live within the body of the universal God. That's what our God actually is. The universe is the God of all the races that live within the universe.
Okay.
That's the real God.
Okay. In this picture, you've also got Pleiades off in the distance there. Did you ever hear anything about the Pleiadians?
Well, I hear that from people, various people, yes, here or there. And about Pleiadians, I've not that much knowledge about the Pleiadians of any type. I know about Aryans.
All right.
Pleiadians, if they exist, that's wonderful.
Okay. So you didn't hear anything from the scientists that you worked with in NASA regarding that particular race?
No, I have not that much at all.
Okay. All right. In terms of the moon and the trips to the moon, you know the whole story about the people saying that that was falsified, and the filmmaker, his name is escaping me at this moment. Gosh, well, someone in the chat can remind me the name. The famous filmmaker who filmed the moon landing, and the idea behind that appears that they actually didn't want to show people what really happened on the moon, so that they needed to film a fake sort of Stanley Kubrick. Is that right? Yeah, that was Stanley Kubrick.
Yeah.
So you know that story. Did you ever happen to meet Stanley Kubrick, or were you around during that time?
No, but I know of him. I know who it is. I've never talked to him or discussed anything. I have been there watching every launch to the moon, including the Apollo 13 that had a failure on board. And that's the most successful mission. We flew to the moon because we were able to rework the interior functions of that lunar module and bring back that crew safely to Earth. 3 astronauts survived with what we did here at the Kennedy Space Center and in Houston. We had to rebuild certain things so that the lunar module would then be able to fly, and then they would transfer to the command module in the command module and the back module that exploded, that had an explosion on board it, and then they were able to re-enter the Earth and then splash down and survive their mission. So that lunar module, built for only 2 people, actually served 3 people in it for a long time to use the oxygen in it. So that was the most successful mission.
Okay.
But I was there for all the missions. I was there to monitor and track and keep in touch with every one of those missions for Admiral Roderick Middleton, who was the Apollo program manager, a naval admiral. I was U.S. Navy, so he had me there as a technical advisor to him.
Okay.
I was there, and every mission we launched did fly to the moon. None of them were failures other than 13, and that went out and around the moon anyway.
Okay. Well, thank you for that. I just want to say thank you for your service to humanity, Clark. And I think there are those of us who realize that you are telling the truth. And I want to thank you personally for myself. And I wish you to live a long life. And I hope that people that are listening to this will contribute to making sure that you can stay alive financially. And
Yeah,
I'm looking forward to seeing your 24th.
I'm in very deep poverty. They put me into deep poverty. I have to help my daughter and 3 children because she hasn't got any income now either. I get a small Social Security check every month. That's the only thing that keeps me going. Very small, $1,200 a month. Who can live on $1,200 a month? They just raised my mobile home park rate to $400 a month.
Okay. I hear you, and my heart goes out to you. I think that you should be able to be supported by Social Security or whatever it is that the government is supposed to provide for people that serve the country, and you're one of them. So anyway, I want to thank you. I'm not going to keep you any longer. I appreciate the time you spent. I'm looking forward to seeing your chapter 24 and the other chapters that you're going to publish. Perhaps we can have you back in the future on the show.
Yes, if you would, please. And please, all the people listening, if you would like a wonderful gift for somebody special at Christmas, please look at my moon gold photos. I make them myself and I ship them out, and none of them has ever been non-deliverable. Everybody receives everything I've ever mailed out, and I've sent out maybe 300. We have over 200 million or so people on planet Earth, so 300 is a tiny percentage of that race.
Absolutely. All right. Well, thank you very much, Clark. And I'll give your URL here. It's also on my website for those listening. This is on live stream at this time. It will be put up onto YouTube as well, so people can listen to it there. It's always very, very lovely to talk to you, and great information for those listening. So it's stargate-chronicles.com.
That's right. And Kerry Cassidy has created a wonderful site of her own, and she's an extremely intelligent woman, and she's done it pretty well all of her own self. So I congratulate you, Kerry Cassidy, for that, and let's see if I can come on again sometime.
That'd be great. Okay, you take care, Clark, and thank you, everyone, for listening.
Okay, thank you, audience. Thank you very much. Have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, everybody that's hearing me, and Carrie too. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Especially in areas that we learned were very special. There are helium-3 areas on the moon, very loaded with helium-3. So if you want to read my chapter 24 later to read what helium-3 is, it's very important. We have got to get back to the moon, and we have got to mine helium-3 there. But our space programs were hurt badly. It has been hurt very badly with our shuttles being shut down when they should not have been. We had 3 shuttles that could still fly, 2 especially, which were the youngest 2 of the shuttle fleet. And they were taken out of order by the President Obama. I think that was a horrible mistake for him to make. I don't care if you're a Democrat or Republican. This nation's what is most important to us. So the politics, the hell with it. Anyway,
okay.
We have helium-3 on the moon, and we have got to get there and mine it because China and Russia are wanting to go there and do the same thing.
Okay, and this is used for space flight. Is that correct?
Well, helium-3 can be used for many things. It can be used for not only space flight, but many other things. It can fuel the world. It can fuel the planet Earth with just a few tons of it. So if you get tons after tons of it from the moon and bring it back here, we can actually keep the energy of this planet very stable without having to use oil and everything else.
Okay. That's great. And I'm not sure whether you're sort of acknowledging that you understand that we have base. Once we get this completely set up, then I'll give you an introduction, Clark, and we'll be off and running. All right?
Okay. I had 34 years in the National Space Program. I was one of the earliest pioneers. I was there 2 years before the original 7 astronauts were selected, and NASA wasn't even formed yet when I was there.
Okay.
That's a very, very early pioneer.
Absolutely. Now, I'm going to just give you a brief introduction here, and then you can certainly add to it however you'd like, all right?
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so my guest tonight is Clark McClelland. He's an aerospace engineer and technical assistant to the Apollo and was a program manager during the Apollo moon landings. He held important positions involving manned projects such as Mercury, Gemini, and Apollo lunar landings, Skylab, the Space Shuttle, and Space Station. He was assigned to the cockpit of the Space Shuttle missions as a spacecraft operator, ground test astronaut. And so if there's anyone who knows what's going on in space, with humans or otherwise, it's Clark McClelland. That is a quote from his bio. And he was also formerly with ONI, the Office of Naval Intelligence. So that's just the briefest of introductions, Clark, and you're welcome to say more about yourself and your background at this point.
All right, thank you, then, Kerry. I became involved with the National Space Program in 1958. It was 2 years before NASA was formed, and 2 years before the first 7 astronauts that were friends of mine were chosen. I knew all those men very well. John Glenn is still alive, living with his wonderful wife, and they're both in their 90s in Ohio. So
Incredible.
I love those people. And I've been involved in or witnessed 678 missions in my lifetime. That's a heck of a lot of tax money, and it's a lot of rockets. So I've been there a long time, and my specialty there was search for extraterrestrial life. I spoke to the astronauts that were on the moon that said they saw it. I spoke to other NASA astronauts about seeing them in space, around Earth orbit and beyond. So ET life does exist. This planet is full of extraterrestrial life. So don't be in fear of it, but please study my website. Please try to read some of my book chapters there. They're not very expensive. And if you'd wish a real special gift for Christmas, I can still get it out for you. I have moon gold brought back from Apollo 15 and my friend James Irwin, who was the astronaut on Apollo 15. When he was leaving to come back...
A moon base?
A what?
A base on the moon.
Oh, we've had a base on the moon for a lot of years.
Okay.
We also have a secret New World Order astronaut corps that's on Mars, MARS, for those who are listening. We have Astronauts International on Mars, and we have a base on the moon, maybe 2 bases on the moon.
Okay. And did you ever get an invitation to possibly go to Mars or the moon?
Did I ever have that?
Yeah. Did
no,
you ever?
I wish I would have had, because I studied Mars and astronomy before I went to NASA. And but see, my problem is this. I was an expert in the study of UFOs and extraterrestrial life. They were in fear of that getting out to every person on the planet Earth. And I'm still under a lot of problems because of that. They do not want you, the human race, to know that there are 5 to 6 separate races on this planet. They have all come from star systems beyond the Earth. We have various races on this planet because there are various races from various star systems, Orientals and whites and whatever else. That's why we have a variation of races.
Okay, great. All right, well, that's lovely. Can you tell us any more about that? I know that we're going to be talking about your chapter 23 and your you met with Werner von Braun. So do you want to get into that now?
Yes, that would be wonderful. Werner von Braun and I were very, very good friends. He cut some gold panels off of the gold that's on the moon yet with the Apollo 15 lunar module. He brought it back to me, and what I have in here is about a 1/4-inch square of it I can sell. I'm sorry I have to sell it. I really am sorry, but I'm in some problems with finances here. So if any of you would like a moon gold photo, read my website and see what there is there. It's a 6x4 frame, golden frame, with a picture of Irwin saluting the flag, and the gold that you'll have a piece of right on the front of your photo of him. On the back of that, you're going to see the description of where it went and all that, and a photo of me sitting in the space shuttle Columbia. It's a wonderful gift, and it's an honest gift, and I swear that to my heart and mind.
Okay.
It's not very expensive.
All right, and we've got a link on my site to your site, Clark, for everyone to see, as well as
Okay.
here. You are the URL here. I'm going to make that visible for people so that they can see it here on on the screen, so they'll easily be able to find your website.
That's wonderful.
And at this moment, what we want to do is also talk about your book that you're writing. You're on chapter 23, 24, I understand.
I'm on I've completed chapter 23, and I'm writing chapter 24, which is a very, very important chapter. I don't have it on my website yet, but it involves the fact that we had 6 landings on the moon, and the 6 landings on the moon were especially